well, for some time I've had concerns about the politicisation of our public service, particularly at a state level, like here in Victoria, but almost every other bureaucracy too. Well, a new report today from the Centre for Independent Studies titled Politicisation, the attack on merit and our way of life, hones in on this issue. And joining me is its author, Dr. Scott Prasser. Dr. Prasser, thank you for your time. Take us through the key findings of your report.
Well, the key findings are that we've moved from the Westminster system, where public servants used to be appointed permanently. They were appointed on merit. They got promoted, wasn't controlled by politicians, and they were there whether government changed or not. And therefore, they were willing to tell the minister and the government sometimes, no, minister, that's a really dumb idea. And these days, what's really happened is more and more public servants, senior public servants, I'm not talking about ministerial staff, are appointed because they're partisan, they are party followers, or they are sympathisers with the government of the day. And also, we've moved away from having a permanent public service to one that is appointed on contract. Now, if you're on contract, you want to keep your contract renewed, you're going to say what the government wants to hear rather than what it needs to hear. That's what's been going on, and it's been going on for 3 decades, and it's become worse and worse. So we've really moved right away from any concept of an independent, neutral public service.
What about the point I made about I think the states are perhaps the worst evidence of this that I've seen, but you've done the report. Do you think it's just as bad in Canberra as it is amongst the states?
I think it's less in Canberra, and the reason is, I think, because there's much more media coverage of the Commonwealth government, federal government, than there is at the state level. So at the Commonwealth level, also we've got a House of Representatives and a Senate Estimates Committee process. There's much more scrutiny. There's much more politics being under supervision. It is happening slowly, and you can see it happening under the Albanese government. On any change of government, there's always a change now of senior public servants. So both sides are sort of doing it. So, but at the state level, it's much, much more profound, and the consequences are there for us all to see.
The Victorian Ombudsman, just on the case of Victoria, she has done a whole report into politicisation, particularly under Daniel Andrews, of the Victorian bureaucracy. You say, look, there's no silver bullets here, but more transparency. You make the point about the media. You say that's key to turning this around.
Yes, I think, look, in America, they've got the Senate confirmation process where the president wants to nominate people to the Supreme Court or senior roles. They've got to go through a confirmation process. The Senate answer questions. And what that does, it makes the government very careful about who they appoint. I think, and that Ombudsman report in Victoria was because the upper house there passed a motion that there should be a review of what's been going on in Victoria. So that report's really going to be really important. So what we've got to do is make it very transparent why people are being appointed, very, very transparent about what their qualifications are, and make the government accountable of why are you appointing this person to this position. And that way it might restrain government. I think to go back to the old system, the permanent system of the Public Service Board, which is what I'd like, I think that's going to be very, very hard to do, because the temptation for governments when they get into office is we've got to replace everybody. And so one government's been in and they come in, they want to set a new set of people in. So let's make transparent. We might at least get a bit more merit about who gets appointed to all these important positions.
Yeah, I do think it's extraordinary. I mean, I've looked carefully at what happens in the United States. You know, the whole administration, 4,000 or 5,000 people go out every time a president changes and a whole new group come in. In the UK, it's more like we used to have very small political staff, a big civil service that's there permanently. And I think we're sort of caught now between the middle. Scott Prasser, thank you for your report. Thank you for your time. I think this is incredibly important to the operation of our democracy.